1.5 billion Deutsche Marks, 1,200 hours in a wind tunnel. In 1984, Opel engineers created a highly advanced weapon designed with one singular purpose: to destroy the Volkswagen Golf and become the undisputed king of Europe. But what they couldn't possibly imagine was that they were actually building an automotive zombie, a machine that would change dozens of names, cross oceans, and 30 years later, end its life mixing mud on the broken roads of Eastern Europe as a common taxi. In the early 80s, aerodynamics was the ultimate marketing buzzword, promising better fuel economy and higher top speeds. Opel took their fresh front-wheel drive platform and wrapped it in a radical, teardrop-shaped body. But to achieve a drag coefficient of 0.30, engineers had to make brutal compromises. They gutted the traditional rain gutters, replacing them with smooth roof seams. They redesigned the mirrors so airflow wouldn't splatter dirt onto the side windows, and they recessed the door handles and headlights deep into the bodywork. The 25-degree angle of the rear glass naturally kept dirt off, but the marketing department forced the engineers to add a rear wiper anyway, just because the Volkswagen Golf had one, and the strategy worked. In 1985, the Opel Kadett E crushed the competition and won the prestigious European Car of the Year award. At first, the base models were painfully slow, but the real game changer arrived a few years later with the legendary C20XE engine. Co-developed with Cosworth, this 2-liter, 16-valve engine pushed 150 horsepower. Known among petrol heads as the Red Top, it was an engineering marvel. It was so bulletproof that the engine block was used as a foundation for Formula 3 race cars for years. In South Africa, they took it a step further. They built an ultimate special edition called the Superboss. Pushing 170 horsepower with a limited slip differential, this extreme hatchback was created with one singular, violent purpose: to humiliate BMW 3 Series race cars on local tracks. If you bought the sporty GSI model in Europe, you got a piece of pure 80s retro futurism, a fully digital LCD dashboard. It looked exactly like a spaceship console. It was nearly unreadable in direct sunlight, but the aesthetic wow factor was off the charts. However, when automotive journalists put the standard Kadett against its rivals, reality hit hard. German and British magazines noted some serious cost-cutting. On rough roads, the body lacked rigidity, leading to annoying squeaks. Unlike the incredibly stable Golf, the Kadett was prone to sudden oversteer at the limit, and the metal quality on early models was infamously poor. In fact, it birthed a legendary piece of European car folklore. If you drive into a quiet forest at night and turn off the engine, you can actually hear the Opel rusting. Despite its dynamic flaws, the Kadett was practical, cheap to run, and had a massive trunk. General Motors knew they had a cash cow, and they milked the platform across the globe. Depending on where you lived, you might know this exact car by a completely different name. In the United States, it was the Pontiac Le Mans. In Canada, the Passport Optima. In South America, the Chevrolet Kadett. And in the United Kingdom, the Vauxhall Astra. By 1991, the Kadett name was retired in Germany, but the car's story was far from over. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union, thousands of used Kadetts flooded Eastern Europe, where its simple, highly repairable mechanics made it a perfect survivor for rough roads. Then South Korean automaker Daewoo bought the rights to the platform, heavily restyled it, and sold it as the Daewoo Nexia. This essentially froze the Kadett in time. It became the backbone of taxi fleets across Eastern Europe and Central Asia. Incredibly, the final Daewoo Nexia rolled off an assembly line in Uzbekistan as recently as 2016. The Opel engineers in 1984 couldn't have cared less about what would happen to their wind tunnel creation 30 years later. But they accidentally built an immortal machine, one that started on pristine German autobahns and ended up surviving the toughest roads on Earth for over 3 decades.